I am your host, Laney Shaughnessy, and I hope you all are doing well tonight. I am in full-on Christmas mode, trying to get my Christmas beard going on here, and mostly because I'm just working so much I don't have time to shave, but got that Santa white going on in that, all those gray hairs in there. And I hope you all are doing well. Tonight's theme, tonight's class, we're going to be working with making picture frame puzzle pieces. A while back in the Facebook group, we've had some of our customers post picture frame, puzzles, and there was a lot of interest in that. And I'm not sure, I didn't get a chance to follow the post all the way through. I'm not sure if they provided files or anything with that post or they just showed it off. But I'm going to walk you through the principles of making some picture frames. If you are out there, say hi to me in the chat. Log into the chat and say hello. And let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. And we'll get this ball started. All right, welcome, Glenn. How are you doing today, sir? All right, Ken. Welcome, Ken. Good to see you here. Nice to see you guys and girls popping in. And hey, Jimmy, sounds good. Thank you, sir. All right. Well, let's, you don't need to be looking at my ugly face too much. Let's see if we can move on over to our Vectric software. And hey, James, how you doing, sir? Welcome to tonight's group. And thank you, Glenn. Thank you for that compliment. Yes, absolutely. I always, I can never grow a full beard. I'm not planning on it. I'm gonna end up shaving and stuff, but I always try. Because it's so hot down here in Florida. I'm not up there in the cool weather. It doesn't really feel like Christmas, so I thought I would try to be like a Santa, grow a beard, but it never fully fills in. So I probably do look like a guy on the street holding a sign. All right, let's move on over to our Vectric software here. Can you hear me now? I didn't have my microphone turned on for that screen. Tell me if you can hear me now. Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, all good. I didn't have my microphone turned on for that screen. So we'll go through and make sure that we are streaming proper, and make sure everything is good to go. Got you now. As I was saying to Peter Hearn over in Facebook, be sure to join us over in the YouTube chat window. Click on that youtube.com link in the post that I put up about the class, and that will should take you to YouTube. And you guys and girls in the chat, let me know if do you have to sign in or have a YouTube account to be able to join us in the chat room. All right, we'll see how the buffering takes on. Make sure you change your settings to 1080p in your YouTube settings. If you guys were with us last week, you remember that. How you doing, Dennis? Welcome. And we'll get this ball rolling here in just a moment. All right, so bear with me a second. There's a few people that are still trying to get in. All right. Did you guys have any problem coming over from that link that I provided in the post in the YouTube to get to this? If you clicked on that post link, did it bring you right to this view window? All right. Let's see here. Yep. Audio's back. All right, worked fine for me. All right, Dennis, good. Hopefully Ronald Sands will be able to join us. He's trying to log in. Google saying it can't find the URL, so hopefully he'll be able to get in with us and stuff. And so tonight's class, as I said, we are working on a picture frame. Right now, I just have my workpiece set up as a, I'm going to set it up as a double-sided job. But I've got it just for right now just set up as a 24 by 24 board because I don't know what these pieces, what size they're going to be right now. And we'll resize our job setup and everything a little later on because I might, go with a thickness of 1/2 inch material. I might go with 3/4. I'll determine all that, later on, and we'll come back to this job setup page and change it. But I do want to make sure that I'm touching off on the material surface when I flip my board, and I am going to be working off the bottom left corner. I've got the DWC Quickset that I'm using, and you guys will be having one of those shortly. If I've got a lot of you on the list to order them when they're ready to come out. But you can work off, you can touch your Z off on the corner, the center, anywhere you want. Now I'm going to be flipping my flip direction between my sides, from one side to the next. I'm going to flip along the X-axis. And so I've got my X-axis option chosen there. And we'll go okay and get everything set up in here. Now, all right. All right, so you have to create a channel to chat. Very good, Dave. Thank you. That's good information. If you guys are out there on Facebook, create a YouTube account so you can come in to chat. Otherwise, you can chat in the YouTube or the Facebook link chat area, and I can see those as well. I'm checking back and forth from time to time, and we'll check in with you on that. So you can get in on the chat. So if you can't get into the live chat, you can get into the live, chat area on Facebook, just the post, commenting, and I can respond to that as well. Alrighty, so now just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here, so you know those picture frame wall art puzzles that you see out there on Pinterest, and you saw in our Facebook group, one of our customers, posted a nice project they made of the picture frames and all. Bear with me one second. Just go ahead and Debbie Miller, if you can hear me out there, go ahead and just chat in the Facebook post. I'll be able to see that as well. Comment in the Facebook post. I'll be able to see that as well. And then we'll talk through at some point in time how to create a YouTube channel. I'll walk you through how to create a YouTube channel and everything. It's pretty simple. It's basically setting up a Gmail account. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave Garbett and all that. Basically, it's as simple as creating a Gmail account. And once you have a Gmail account, you should have a YouTube account, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that. It's been a while. Now, looking at this picture that I have up here, we're not going to do any tracing or anything like that. You know, we're going to draw our own puzzle pieces. But basically, if you look at this, even that center piece, which is a whole piece that has the two picture frames on it, it is basically the design. If you were to break it or cut it in half, basically all of the individual pieces on the outside are the same pieces. They're just rotated differently and stuff so they fit together. So primarily what you would do is you would create about 3 or 4 different puzzle pieces, whether you want the double, you know, type puzzle piece or just a single, but you would create 3 or 4. One where the part, you know, one of the post, we'll call it, I don't know what to call it, but one of the little post legs here would be up. On the other piece it'd be down, so on and so forth. And one where the post is off the left side and one where the post is off onto the right side. You would create those primary pieces, those 3 or 4 primary pieces, and then you can orientate them and add to the puzzle any way you go. So what I've done is, let me turn that bitmap layer off and let me turn on my puzzle pieces that you can see here, and let's kind of join in here. And so we're gonna, when we make our puzzle pieces, I've made basically essentially 2 pieces here, or 3 should say, you know. Let me drag this one out. So I've got a double piece. I've got a single piece that does not have a, you know, a peg leg sticking at the top, and I've got another single piece that's got the little peg leg sticking at the top. So that way, you know, no matter with those 3 pieces, how they're going to be orientated, you know, I can basically get them to, let me grab this in the proper place. I can get them to fit in pretty much anywhere. And if I grab this one, I'll go ahead and move it over here. So I can pretty much, let's grab it down here and fit it there. So this piece here, I'll grab this piece and snap it over here. So, you know, pretty much however you orientate these pieces, you know, and you orientate your puzzle or your picture frame, should I say, you can make it to where it's like a 3-piece kit, a 4-piece kit. They can buy 1 piece at a time and they can add pieces down the road. You know, if they're selling this, they would just tell you if they need piece part A, B, C, D, you know, and you would create your individual different parts and stuff. With these parts, you know, depending on the size and all, you just want to be able to kind of create those, you know, individual parts. And let me get these moved over to the way. I'm going to set these over to the side. And I'm going to take these guys and set them up here. So that way I can zoom into my work area. And now you can be creative with what your puzzle parts look like. The only thing that's important, and let me bring this down here. just for a second. Let me bring these two parts here. Is no matter what you have your curves and everything look like, you want to make sure that we're mirrored, you know, on all four sides. So this side, this curve, not counting this little leg out here, but this curve here, if I were to rotate it 90 degrees, then it would be the same as this curve, which would be the same as this curve, and the same as this curve. We can put in our peg legs and everything anywhere we want in here, but we want to make sure that our sides are consistently shaped, so that way when they fit together, it doesn't matter how they're rotated, it doesn't matter, you know, how they're orientated, that they will all fit together, whether I put that part here or if I put that part here, or if I put that part here or here. All of those curves fit together with one another, no matter what side I put that part on. That's very important when you're creating your puzzle pieces. So let's go ahead and move these back up out of the way, and let's start drawing things out. Let's set those up there, and let's come on in here, get all full on screen going here. And like I said, I've got my board set up as a 24 by 24 because right now I don't know how big my puzzle pieces are going to be. I don't know how big their stand by 1 second. We're still getting some late minute comers here. Posted at the top of the... Sorry guys and girls. It's going to be a new, as we're making, you know, I'm making a lot of changes on you, changing the way we're doing things, but this is going to be the format that we're using from this point on. Facebook group. Stand by. Okay, so we still, you know, with all the changes and everything, we're gonna have, yes, I am recording. I am recording this time. I sure am. Thank you for asking. And also, it's going to be recorded on the Facebook group, but the actual video last week or Tuesday, you know, I didn't record a copy for myself to edit and everything. But as I'm making, you know, we started out with the WebEx, we moved over to Facebook Live, and you know, I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do in Facebook Live as far as screen sharing or sharing my video, and I wasn't able to really get what I want, and so we ultimately ended up here. We're going to do you know, YouTube live feed. I'll be posting the link in the YouTube channel, and you guys get it there. But with all those changes, you know, it's you know, everybody's still trying to play catch up. Where do I go? Where do I get this? Where do I get that? Sorry about the confusion, but this will be the format from this point on, and we'll go from there and fine tune it and really knock it out of the park. All right, back to our Vectric software. Let's go ahead and get started. So when it comes to the puzzle pieces, be creative. You can do whatever you want. I normally tend to like to start with a rectangle, you know, and I'll go with kind of a square rectangle, and let's say that we have we'll go 10.25 by 10.25. Now typically each puzzle piece usually range, you know, for the ones that you would see online and everything, they're typically about a 12 by 12. A 12 by 12. And what about the older classes, Ken? The older classes are going to be uploaded to this YouTube channel. So they're all going to be uploaded to the SpindleTV YouTube channel. and we'll get those uploaded one by one until they're all up there. But they're not gone away. They will be posted up there, and that's what I'm going to be working on. With our show season starting, it's just kind of I've got someone else helping me. We've got a lot of great stuff going on. We just got to get everything uploaded. Now, as I was saying, typically the parts are 12 by 12 that you would see on most projects, Pinterest and things like that. You can go online, you can buy these type things on Etsy and eBay and maybe even Amazon. I'm not sure. You can buy individual parts and all. There's companies out there that sell them just like you would sell yours. And those parts are 12 by 12 for the smaller pieces, and that would be a 12 by 24 for the larger piece. And then whatever else you wanted to create, you might want to create a 12 by 24 that's long, that's upright versus horizontal. You might want a vertical piece. So I'm just starting with a 10 1/4 by 10 1/4. We can go 12 by 12. It doesn't matter. If we want to, we can go in here and go 12 by 12 to create our first part and stuff. I was just going to do 10 1/4 to stay under my 24-inch length. But we can go with this. Now, when I have the rectangle, because of the fact that I'm going to be making sure that all 4 sides are created equally as far as the curve and everything, I'm going to I'll be deleting spans and I'll be recreating them and stuff. But I kind of like to start out with a rectangle just to get my general shape going on. And I'm going to F9 this and put it in the middle of the screen so I can zoom in on it. And now I'm going to take and close out my size tool. I've got it sized up to a 12 by 12, and I'm going to jump into node editing on this. And the node editing tool, for you guys and girls that are new, node editing is under the edit objects. When we create an object, we need to edit it in one way or another, and node editing is the second icon, first row of the edit object tools. Now, when you are in node editing, you have nodes for that object. So this rectangle has 4 corner nodes. The lines that make up the 4 sides, we can put our mouse on those lines, and we can right click, and we can convert those lines to a Bezier curve. We can convert them to an arc. We can convert them back to a line if we want to. We can insert more node points. We can cut the vector on these lines. We can delete the whole entire span. The span is between the nodes. We can insert a midpoint. All of these things when we right click. And of course, if you see the letters next to those options, those are their keys, the keyboard keys that you can use as a shortcut. So for instance, to Bezier curve, if I come in here and put my mouse on the line, I can hit the letter B, and I can convert that line to a Bezier curve. So I can come in here and create a curve. And that's what we want to do. All right. And I can also just right click on it and choose that option as well. Either one. It doesn't matter. The shortcut codes just help, create, much more ease. Now, once I have this, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab my draw circle tool, and I'm just going to pick a point on this curve and just kind of draw a circle out. And I'm going to come in and kind of just create an initial shape, and I'm going to take and interactively trim that shape together. Okay. Now, I don't want my circle could be a circle, could be whatever, whatever I want it to be, but I do want to go into node editing on here. And I'm just going to kind of change the shape a bit. See if I can come over and pull this about somewhat. I want to smooth this point if it will let me. Let me see if it'll let me smooth this point. too busy. And I'm going to delete this point here. And now I can pull. I'm going to delete this black point too. So that way I can pull this however I want. Kind of curve it up a bit. And just kind of get a general shape. You know, I don't want this flat, this kind of flat line here into the curve. So I'm going to delete. It actually let me smooth this point. So I can actually smooth that point and kind of smooth it out. There we go. Now, I want to create a hook of sorts. So if we look here, so we've got this kind of almost like hook. So the parts can get trapped in each other. They're wider at the tip than they are at the base. And so that's what I want to do here. So if I come in and insert a point or the letter I on my keyboard, I can kind of pull this out a bit. Maybe make this a little bit stumpier. Pull this out a little bit more on this side. All right. So now that I've got my general shape here, we've got to do something about the corners, right? Because remember, let's say that we were cutting this out with a 1/4 inch end mill. So let me draw a 1/4 inch router bit. And let's say that we were cutting this part out with a 1/4 inch router bit. Well, it won't be able to get into those sharp corners, you know. So when it's cutting this outside piece, it's going to come in here and it's going to cut this part to, you know, wherever it can fit. It's going to stop. And so those sharp corners we need to get rid of, because when we create the outer part, the outer corners and all, we got to create that radius, because the male parts are going to have the radius as well. You know, the female parts are going to have that radius as well. So everything fits nicely together. Well, what we want to do is we're going to cheat a little bit. We're going to use the offset tool to help us. Let's delete our router bit for right now. And with this, I'm going to come in and use my offset tool. I could also use my fillet tool, but I'm going to use my offset tool because it's kind of a quick and simple tool to use. My radius of my 1/4 inch router bit is a 0.125. Okay, so I need at least that radius, and I kind of like larger radiuses anyway, even a 1/4 inch radius. But the 0.125 will suit my needs if I'm going to be cutting with a 1/4 inch router bit. Even if I'm cutting with an 1/8 inch router bit, it's going to suit my needs. But what we want to do is we want to delete the original. Make sure that's selected. We want to select, the new. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to do 2 steps. We're going to offset outward, then we're going to offset inward. Depending on the part that we're drawing, we might be offsetting inward first, then outward next. But what we do is if we come out, it'll create that offset outward, that 1/8 of an inch. And now if I come back in, it's gonna, when on that inward motion, it's gonna create that radius, that 1/8 inch radius. So let me undo that so you can see that one more time. We're gonna offset outward, deleting the original with that 0.125 distance. And then we're gonna turn around and offset right back inward. And when we do that, it'll create that 1/8 inch radius there for us. And we can confirm that by looking at our measure tool here. We can check the span and contour properties, and we can come over here and click on this, and we can look at our radius over here, 0.125. 0.125 inches on our radius. Okay, so that's a little quick and simple little cheat for creating those puzzle parts. So whether you're making puzzle picture frames or just puzzles, you can do this for either or. That little offset outward, offset inward. and you know, to create your radiuses, because if you have two parts that are being cutting, the outside parts you're going to get square corners and things. The inside parts you're going to get radius, so you want to make sure that those parts fit together. So you want to radius those outside ports that fit together. And I'll show you what I mean by an outside port. I'm going to take this and I'm going to create a copy of it by holding down my control key, and I'm going to drag this out. To right about there. Somewhere right about there. Let me zoom in here. Oops. All right. And so on this piece here, I'm going to cut the vector right here. Let's go back into node editing mode. I'm going to cut the vector on this corner. I'm going to come all the way down and cut the vector on this corner. So that way I can delete the rest of that rectangle. And let's get out of node editing mode. And let's drag this back over. Imagine that this is my insert, and matter of fact, let me undo that. Let me undo this. I'm just going to flip this rectangle to the other side. So I'm going to go into my mirror tool, and I'm just going to flip it left. Oh, make sure I don't want to create a mirror copy. I want to turn that off and just flip this left. So now imagine that this is my, and let me join these two parts together. So I'm going to click on both of these vectors, this vector here and this vector here, and I'm going to join them with the join tool at the bottom row of the edit objects first icon. I've got two open vectors. When I join them, I'll have one closed. And now if I were to, you know, move these parts together, you know, those two puzzle pieces are going to fit like a champ. Now, what I was referring to, so it wasn't confusing, is the outside corners and the inside corners. I need to make sure on my outside corners, these guys right here, you know, match the inside cuts of this part here, that radius. And when that router bit is traveling, if these points, let me make these points sharp. Let me make these points sharp. I'm going to offset this inward and then reverse it outward. Oops, wrong way. Control Z. Let me where this inward. Bear with me a second. Now imagine that I drew this out and I drew that little circle in there and I had these sharp corners. Well, I can't get my sharp corners to fit. And let me make this actually the, let me make sure this is the exact same part. Let's go one more time. Let's do this the proper way. We're going to offset outward first. And then, oh, we got to delete the original. I just told you that 2 minutes ago and forgot it myself. I'm going to offset outward and then back inward, or is it inward and then outward? There we go. Thank you. Inward and outward, outward and inward. You got to figure out which one it is going to get what you want. But now let's move this back over here. And so you see that my inside corners there, you know, those two puzzle pieces wouldn't fit. You know, this is my one part here with the sharp outside corners, because the router bit, when it cuts, it's going to cut those sharp corners. But when it does the inside cut, it's going to create that radius. So we got to get rid of those sharp corners. And once again, to do that, we're going to delete the original, select the new, offset outward, and then offset back inward. Oops, And this one's going to be backwards. It's going to be inward first, then outward. There we go. One or the other. You just have to figure out which for which piece, which method it is. Now, when I offset, look what happened to the corner of my piece. It radiused, if we look here at the bottom, it radiused the corner of my part, which I don't want. So that is the fillet tool. The fillet tool, we need to come in and we're going to put in here this 0.125 radius, just like before. But when we come back over this corner, you'll see that X. When I put that mouse over that corner, you'll see that X pop up on the cursor, and I can remove that offset. Come up to the top here. When I put my cursor over, that X will pop up. I can remove my offset. And I don't have my offset quite right. I'm a little off right there on my curve, but I can fix that in post and stuff, you know, so that those parts really jive together and everything. And it's just a small little rotation that I have to do. So now, now that you understand that concept, let's go ahead and we can delete this and we'll finish off our puzzle piece. So this is where you can kind of get creative. Imagine that this is going to be a single piece and there might be some text in here. And it won't be a picture. You know, we're going to have parts that'll just have text in it, parts that'll have picture frames in it, parts that'll have, you know, what have you, whatever you want. Just a family name. And so I'm going to just do, you know, make a let me see, I gotta think of something corny and stupid to say here. Let's see here. Make a life movie. Well, give me something stupid to say here. Let's see here. Memories make for a, I don't know, for happier times. I'm not sure. We'll just create something here. Happier, I don't know. Happiness. I don't know. You know, you gotta think of something corny and creative to say, and I don't have anything corny in my head right now or anything lovey-dovey right at this minute. But let's go ahead and I'm gonna use a monotype Corsiva. Wherever my monotype Corsiva is, it's hiding right there. And let's make this happiness, memories make, I don't know, make life. There we go, life. Here we go. Here's my corniness. Unforgettable. Did I spell that correctly? You guys can correct my spelling if I did not. All right, memories make life unforgettable. And we'll put life here and we'll throw that in. So, memories make life unforgettable. Aw, that's an awe moment if I've ever seen one. I want that a little bit bold and, you know. So, imagine if, you know, this was my part. Is it going to be a text part? Am I going to put a picture frame in here? I want to know that because I want to know, because I'm going to be making 4 parts, one running one way, running another, and they're going to be all individual. They're just basically going to be the same part rotated. So as if it's going to be a picture frame, I'm just cutting an oval out here or a rectangle, then I don't care which way this part's orientated. But if I'm going to make a text piece, and we'll call this part A, and I'll just use a single line Helvetica text here, and I'll just pop that right there, part A. And so now I need to figure out what part A is going to look like. Now, the cool thing about this is I only have to draw that curve one time because all 4 curves need to match. So I'm going to go into Make sure I still got my sharp point there. Yep. I'm going to go into node editing. Let's center that up. It's going to drive me nuts. All right. Go into node editing, and we're going to, on this piece, we're going to cut this corner node here once again. Down here, we're going to cut this corner piece. And I don't need the rest of this rectangle because I'm going to be rotating this part. Okay? So if I click on this part and I double click, throw it in transform mode, I can come in and I can pick a pivot point if I want. So if I open up the rotate tool, which is the third icon of my transform objects menu, you'll see the pivot point pop up on the screen here in the center, and I can drag that pivot point anywhere that I want to drag it, and I'm going to snap it to the bottom of my part there. And now I can grab these blue handles and I can rotate and pivot this part any way that I want. Or I can simply just come in and say that I want to go 90 degrees or negative 90 or whatever. So 90 positive is that way. That's fine. We can go positive, negative, doesn't matter. Now, when we're making this, when we're doing this rotate in the rotate box by typing it in here, that doesn't help me create the second part unless I do a copy and paste. So if I were to right click on this and say copy, now I can rotate this part, and I'm going to go negative 90. Negative 90. Okay. And once I do that, now I can right click and say paste, and it'll paste that original part back in its original position. Okay. So we're two sides in. Happy as a gopher in soft dirt. Way to go, Glenn Jones. That's funny. Now, I might want this part to be mirrored. I might not want all, I might want this part to be flipped out to where it's an outie or an innie, like a belly button, whatever. I can do that in the mirror tool, the rotate tool. I can make this come over here. If I were to rotate this part another, 90 degrees, I can be, and if I wanted to take and drag this over to here and snap to the end, grab it right on the end there and snap it to there. I can, you can start to orientate this. All you need is that one curve, you know what I mean? That one curve, that one shape. Now we can start playing around with it and laying it out. I'm actually going to flip this piece inward. So this is an innie. I got an outie over here. So I'll go into my mirror tool. And I'm just going to flip it vertically. Oh, not. See there, I had flip about job center created, so let me turn that off. Flip about job center, and I'm gonna flip that vertically there, and then I'm gonna take and drag it and snap it back up in there. So I got an outie and an innie. All right, now one more time while these two parts are connected together, I'm going to go ahead and rotate, throw this one and double click on this and throw it into transform mode. And bear with me a second, let me check in on the other group. All right, that's looking good. And I had one young person, one class, the packages showed up today, but I'll sing. All right. One of my packages, one of my Christmas projects showed up to a customer, and I'm happy to hear she received them. I was worried we wouldn't get them in time to her. All right, so I'm going to open, I got my pivot point here, which means I don't necessarily, it's staying kind of on the end that I put it on. I don't necessarily have to open my rotate tool unless I'm going to change the coordinate, of that pivot point or what have you. So I'm going to drag this back over here on that end. And I'm going to rotate, holding my control key down. I'm going to just grab this blue node here, and I'm going to rotate this, you know, up. All right. And if you want to be precise, you can, if you don't know, like if you rotate up and you're not sure if you're on or off, remember it's a puzzle piece, right? You know, we're going to make these parts fit together, but since, you know, these sides are 90, we might as well make this one 90 as well. So I'm going to rotate 90 degrees. It's going to be a negative. Oops. Control Z. Hold my control key down and hit. Alright, now don't you be fighting with me. Oh, I forgot to copy and paste because I'm not using my drag bars. I was like, don't you fight me. Alright, Control C for copy. Now I can run that up, and then Control V for paste, or right click and you know, paste. Either one. You know, your shortcut codes and all that stuff. Now I don't want these two being on the side like that, even with each other. You know, that looks stupid. So we're going to rotate that, or flip it, rotate it, mirror it, whatever you want to call it. We're going to flip it vertically. There we go. All right. Getting there. One more way to go. All right, and then this piece here, this part here, I'm going to right click for you guys and copy. And what that does is it copies this vector in its position where it's at. So now this vector, the original, I'm going to change my pivot point to up here, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to snap it to there. And now if I hit right click and paste, it's going to paste the copy that I just made back in the original position. You know, back in the original position, you know, to create that, you know, that piece out. And so let's make sure, let me turn off my, move my pivot point out of the way for a moment. Let's make sure that I snapped to this part here. And let's make sure I'm snapped over here. You see that big old gap right there? Big old gap right there. So I want to rotate this. I'm going to move that pivot point back on that corner. Make sure it's right on that corner. I'm going to pop it right to there. That way I'm pivoting off of that edge. I can zoom in here. And I'm actually going to have to pivot this one as well. But I can zoom in and I can pivot this down. There. And I got to go down a little further because I got to pivot this side one in a little bit more so everything fits together. Pivot is because of my curve. Alright, now with that one, let me take and double click on this one to throw it in transform mode. Change this pivot point down here, making sure that I absolutely am pivoting on that end point there. And sorry about the in and out, but you do that. And actually, I think I'm good. Let's find out. Let's find out how close I am. So we have 4 parts here. So if I hold down my shift key and grab those 4 vectors, and I come over here to my join open vectors tool, I have 4 open vectors, and I am close enough to close it out because they are touching. They're just not, you know, clinked together. So I can click join, and now I have 1 closed vector and 1 puzzle part. Okay, so that's my puzzle part. Now Once we have that, essentially, part B, part C, part D is some variation of this part. Now I want to have a double in here, a double piece, you know. I want to have a double piece in there. So let's take part A and move it to the side. Oh, let me close this tool, thank you. Move it to the side. Holding my control key down, I'm going to drag another copy down here. And I can get rid of my unforgettable memory. All right. And now let's take, part A. And let's test it out before we go any further. So, if I were to rotate, or let's see here. If I were to rotate this part 90 degrees off of its center, 90 degrees. If I were to take this part, 90 might not be the right number either. No, you never know. But if I were to take this part and snap it into here, so I'm good there. Okay. If I were to take it to come over here and snap into this piece, I'm a little off. Oh, that's because I didn't snap it to the right part. Hold on a second. Let me get in there. Ooh, there we go. I don't know how I could have been off like that. If I were to rotate this another 90 degrees off of its center, off of that piece of center, that selected piece of center, one more time. There we go. And if I were to take this part and drag it over here, oops, let me snap to the right proper place. So this one part rotated numerous times is going to create all of my parts. Let's see here. Someone popped up. Buddy, I think you made a mistake. I do not think it will fit. Let me know if that's the true case after you see it fit on all four sides, Dennis. Before you go too far, I think your bottom line will not work to the line up with any of the rest. So my bottom line. No, my bottom line won't because of the fact that that's where part C would come in. Part C and part D. We've got to create a second part. There's other parts that will fit in here and everything. But this piece would not fit in this bottom line here unless I totally mirrored this part. And I don't want to mirror it because my front's my front, my back is my back. So I have to create that other part. And so if I were to take this, and hold down my control key and make a copy of it. Okay. And with this part here, we may have, this is where we could create a different shape other than these four pegs here. But if I were to mirror this part, flip it horizontal. Okay. This part here, this piece, this puzzle piece now will fit, down here. Make I snap it together, And now I could make a part where, something that could fit in here that has a outie coming out with an innie coming in on this side, right? So if I look, I've got an outie coming out and an innie coming in, innie coming out. So this part that I just mirrored, if I make a copy of it, don't do that. Let's Control Z, make a copy of it by holding your control key down. There we go. if I were now this part, oh, Lord have mercy, hold on a second here now. Am I holding the wrong key? Let's try that again. Control. There we go. I was letting go of my control button too early. But now if I take this part and rotate it 90 degrees, 90 degrees, rotate off of its center, 90 degrees. Now I can take, and again, we didn't flip it, we rotated it, so our front's still our front, you know, and all that stuff. But I should be able to snap these two pieces together here, you know. So our puzzle's coming together, right? You know, we're just rotating and mirroring and all, and so now we got part. Let's make sure we label these so we know that they're different parts. So these two parts here would be part B because they're both this. Wait, these two parts here. Sorry, these two parts here are part A. So let me put in part A so we know what's A and B and B. Part A. Okay. And then these two parts are part B. Or C or D or E, however you want to name your parts. But my part, A's would be, you know, no matter how I rotate them, you know, I could have a part A-1, a part A-1, part A-2 or whatever. So it's whether it's a left side or right side, because if I'm going to put text on this part A, well, I want to make sure that if this part A gets rotated 90 degrees, that the text is not running 90 degrees. So I have to get those questions from my customer. You know, if they say I need to order part A or part B, you know, part A, you know, they have a picture. You'd have it on your website of this shape. Do you need that rotated 90 degrees? Or you could just go down the list. Part A, B, C, D. You know, you can rotate this part 4 times and have A through D, you know. And that way you know which way to orientate your text or your photograph or what have you. You know what I mean? So, but these two parts are identical. Okay. They're just one is rotated in a different orientation. These parts are different from these parts because they are mirror copies. They're mirrored. And now this, when I flipped it, this is my top surface and all. And this part B most likely is, for me, is going to have a picture frame. Maybe either a rectangle or a nice oval shaped picture frame. And let's go with a 4x5 photo, right? 4 inches by 5 inches. And I will place it, you know, maybe in the center, no matter which way I rotate it or what have you, or I could place it in the corner and put some text down here. You know, these are going to be custom orders a lot of times. Sometimes you just want blank pieces that they can order, and you know, if they want text to add to it, then they put you put the text. If this part was over here, you know, you put the text up here. If this part is over here, the text goes there, and you can tell them you can fit 1, 2, or 3 lines in, you know, whatever that case may be. And all of this started with one curve. You know what I mean? All these 4 parts and everything started with one curve. So for me, this part here, we'll put the photo frame there, and we might put the kid's name. You know, let's say that this is little Jimmy, you know. And I'm going to go with a monotype cursiva, M-O-N. You can any font you want. Let me try that again. Jimmy, little Jimmy. And I'll make the kid's name a little bigger. You know, You can start to customize it for them and all that stuff. You know what I mean? You're kind of getting it. You're getting it. You're getting it. Now, look here. Look at this side. Okay? So if we look at these parts, okay, these parts here, what part, if I wanted a double, like let's say I wanted a double piece, similar to this one here over here, which is basically two together. Do I want a single piece over here, or do I want to create a third part for my inventory that is basically a double? But we got to make sure that we really look at that, because we want to make sure that if we create a third part, that it fits together somewhere else other than just one side. You know, so if I create a third part, it might be a finished piece where it has a square edge. You know, I've got this part here and I've got up here as well. So this part here, these two, A and B together, I'm going to select them both. Oh, get out of my text tool. There we go. Select them both. And I'm going to right click and copy. I'm going to move this part out of the way and right click and paste to put that original back where it was. Now on this part here, I need to, if I were to rotate these two parts, let's say that I want them together, then I'm just going to trim my scissor tool. Maybe I want it to be a, you know, a full-on part. Get rid of that little bit of debris right there. Okay. And so if I now with this part here, let me see what's going on up here. A little bit of a jog. Got to fix that. I'll fix that in a minute. If I were to rotate this part, no, 180 degrees off its center. Now I have a part that, you know, will fit. If I can get them to match up there. You know, that will be here. Or if I take this part and rotate it off its center -90. Oops, a couple more times. There we go. You know, then it'll fit up here. You know, and this could be the family name. You know, this could be something like a family name. But I also want to look over here and, you know, I want to make sure that all of my parts A's and B's, no matter where I put them, you know, they'll fit and I can finish out a puzzle or what have you. But let's make this a family name. We'll call this the last name Johns. Jimmy Johns. Fastest ever delivery. Johns. You know, you can do all capital letters. Jimmy Johns. That's funny. I don't care anymore. All right. So this one I'll probably do in a different text, you know, something a little more blockish. Mutter. I don't want mutter. News is nice. So we'll go with a we'll go with a 1.5 inch tall text for right now. Nah, I can go bigger than that. Let's go big. Let's go 4 inch tall. There we go. And we can, you know, that could be the family name. You know, you can center it however you want. You know. Now, if we looked at this, let's say that I had, I've got to look at what part I can rotate. So this part right here, maybe changing my oval. I'm going to make a copy of it. Holding my control key down, I'm going to drag a copy of it. And why is my copy not working? Oh, I forgot. I'm letting go of my control button before I let go of my mouse. So there we go. All right. So this part will fit here, you know, for an individual piece. Now we got two parts here. So do I have a part that has an outie on this edge and an innie or an innie and outie, whatever, on that edge? So let me look. So if I were to, that's part A. So if I hold down my control key and let me throw it in transform mode, drag out that copy. Now if I rotate part A 90 degrees, you know, I'm showing you how all of this fits together. So if I rotate, oops, that's the mirror tool. We don't want to mirror, we want to rotate off of its center. I'm going to go -90, like that. Nope. I wanted to go +90. So let's backspace that out and go 1, 2. There we go. All right, so this part here will fit here. Oh, let me get lined up here. Let's see if I can get this to snap. There we go. All right. Now we got to figure out, we're off somewhere. Right here is where I'm off. Let me get which part is this one. That's that one. Let me find this one. There we go. Line that up proper. There we go. Because all these parts should fit together. So you can see how they start to rotate, go in and out and all that stuff. Now I have a problem up here. Remember when I made the join those two parts together, I've got this funky little swash thingy going on here. And so I need to see what I need to do to get rid of that. I think it's going to be just a matter of cleaning the node up, but I'm going to actually put two parts together up here just to see what needs to be cleaned up on this little corner. So that piece would be my, ooh, we're getting into a new piece here. So bear with me a second. No, we're not getting into a new piece. That's this piece. So let me make a copy of it. Rotate it 90 degrees. And move that over here. Alright, so let's look at my jog there. Alright, so my little jogaboo. But let's make sure, let's get the other piece in here so I can make sure that I get that curve just right. When I trim those with the scissors, it created that little notch, and we don't want that. So where is this piece right here, part B? Let me control pull that out. Darn it. Let go of the control. Oop. Control Z. I let go of the control button before the mouse. You got to let go of your mouse first. I don't know why I'm doing that tonight. There we go. All right, let's bring this up here. Okay. Let's get everything lined up. Make sure everything is in sync with one another. And let's make sure this one's in sync, which it's not. A little shaky on the mouse there. Let's get the. It's wanting to snap to that point. Let me grab another point here. There we go. All right, let's go over and look at this jog. So right there, these two parts, this part and this part, these two top parts and all, are showing me what my curve should look like here. And I've got this little jog out, so that I'm still off. It'll tell you when it's off. You can see those lines on top of each other. So let me pull this part back into. still off. There we go. You'll get a blue line. You'll get kind of like a faint blue line when you come together. All right, let's pop back over here. And which one did I move? I just moved that one. Son of a gun. Hold on a second. I got to move the wrong one. Put that back. You'll kind of get a blue line, you know, when everything's fitting together there. And I moved the wrong one over here, I think. No, I'm good now. Okay. No, I'm not good. Hold on a second. If I can't line up on a curve, then I'll find another spot to line up on. Alright. Alright. A little bit of gappage, but that's fine. Let's see here. So this corner right here, this node, so I need to fix that. This curve comes up. This curve comes down. So I should be if I go into node editing, if I delete that point, let me see now. I'm missing a corner right there. Undo that delete point. And this little jog. A little bit of cleanup. I don't want to do that. I don't want to change the part. Let me see here. Bear with me a second. Because my curve should be the same. Pikachu, Pikachu. This piece is missing a corner. I got to figure out where my corner went to. Come up here. There's where my corner went to. It's way up there. So let me bring these down in alignment. Let me get back into regular mode. And let me throw that into transform mode. There we go. A little off on my curve. What I do, what I change, what I change. This is when you know, when you start creating that double part that I created. I should have looked at it a little bit better before I started messing with it because I threw everything off a little bit. So this is my double part right here. And so my curve is off, so I need to fix that. So what I'm going to do is go into node editing and tighten her up. And I'm going to delete or cut that vector there on that corner. Going to go all the way over to the other corner. If I can get out of Yeah, my whole curve is off. My paste might just not be sitting in right. I don't know, but we'll change it. I'm going to cut the vector on this corner. Alrighty, so let's take bump that down where it should be and fix this node, and this should actually come right to there. Control key while you're using your arrow keys on your keyboard. Remember, I'm only changing this line to adjust for what I need. That's what my curve should look like. Now I can add that vector back into the design. So I can go over here and see, I've got two open vectors, so let me make sure that I'm selecting the right vector. That's my cut vector. Bear with me, guys. A little bit of cleanup, always has with every project. All right, so 2 and 2. Yeah, this part is off all the way around. So let me make some adjustments on my big 2-inch part here. Bear with me a second. My 2-inch part is off a tad. So I'm going to go into node editing on it. Cut that vector there. Should have checked my corners. That one's cut. Let me cut this vector here. You see I'm overlapped. So my 2-inch part was off a little bit. My big 2-inch part. So cut that vector, and now I got to size it. So I'm going to delete. Oops, I got one more vector to cut. This corner here. Whole 2-inch part, throwing a monkey wrench in the whole bag dangle problem. All right. So now this vector, I'm going to go ahead and get it positioned where it's supposed to go with my arrow tools. There we go. And do I need to cut it there? Yep, I need to cut it on this vector and fix that curve right there. So node editing, I'm gonna grab, see there's that little jog, that same little jog. So I'm gonna cut that vector there. I'm actually gonna cut that vector there as well. Get rid of this little span right there so I can move this to there. And that should bring everything else into alignment. Nice. So nice, nice, nice. A little off alignment there, but that's fine. Okay, now these two vectors here that I just rearranged for that, clean that curve up, I can join those back. Oh, still not letting me join. Where am I overlapping here? Bear with me a second. Oh, I'm too far away. This is going to be joined with a Let me see what you guys are saying here. I'm only making just one piece. Yep. All right. So let's see here. My little jog out right there. So from here to there. And I'll fix that in a minute. I got a gap right here. But for right now, that'll be fine. I'll fix that 2-inch piece. Because when I blended them together, it threw everything off. But let me put everything back. Yeah, see, everything is off. Even this should be out here. You know, it should be out here, this part. So everything is off now. When that 1 2-inch piece threw everything off. So I'm gonna go back to my 2 original parts. How's that one look? That's all good. That's all good. All right. So one more time, create that 2-inch piece here. Get rid of that. Now, before I create that 2-inch piece, this is what threw me off. I didn't have these 2 parts lined up when I created it. And so it threw everything into a whirlwind of screw up. So if I come in and move that part properly, and get my blue line, if it won't let me snap where I want, then I'll come in and grab another just another spot somewhere until it lets me snap where I want. So now with that, there we go. So that part's good. Let me fix this. This piece has to fit there. Ta-da. Okay. So now with everything lined up, I can make that 2-inch part again, or that 2-piece part again. So control key, throw it into transform mode, control key, come over here. All right, double check everything. Golden, everything's in line. I can use my scissor tool now. Oh, I'm actually not going to use my scissor tool. I'm going to take this piece and weld it together. More better. Clean out all this debris that's in the middle. Even this piece right here. Scissor tool. All right, now I can rotate this part 90 degrees and we're saving our parts. Off its center, -90. And one more time. Pull it in. Zoom in tight so I can line it up. All right. Now we're golden. Now we can put our hunter's name, Jones, Johns, whatever, back in there. One little screw up, just because when I had those 2 parts and I didn't have them tied together properly, when I trimmed them, it created a bad part and everything was crazy. So, you know, just make sure. That's why you don't want to go with too many parts. And let's see, Dennis came back and said, all good. I am used to making just 1 piece. So when people are ordering, they only have 1 template. Well, and that's fine. You know, what we're trying to attempt is, if we turn that picture back on and just zoom back in, we're creating 1, 2, or 3 pieces that, you know, part A, part B, part C, part D. And if you look, if we jump online, just as a reference, if we jump online and we go to picture frame puzzle pieces, just for kicks and giggles, and go into images, you know, there's so many different styles out there, right? There's so many different things, you know, where they have, you know, where you can have just individual frames, or you can have, you know, just, you know, different parts that fit together. And if you, you know, they've got, you know, just single on, you know, with the frames, you know, but if we look here, you see kind of that same picture that I was showing you, you know, how they lay it out. Part A, this is an A, B, this one and this one's a C, this one and this one's a B, you got a D, the double is an E, so they kind of got it laid out, and you can only order, you know, with this company, you can order, I think, up to F, you know, they have F, you know, that, you know, one more part, which is a vertical part, but that's it. And all of those parts that they lay out, that's as far as they go. So if the picture frame, when it's all put together, looks something like this, which is the original frame that I showed you, or, you know, let's see here, like just maybe just two pieces together, you know, husband and wife, or, you know, maybe just a double with 3 and 2, however you lay it out, however you build your family photo frames, you know, there's all kinds of options, but you really want to create, you know, for me, it's, you know, I got part A, B, this big part here would be part C, you know, or something. And I might create one more part, and that would be it. That would be what I would offer, because then it starts getting complicated and stuff. And I don't want to, you know, deal with it. You know, they can only build that frame so far. But, oops. Let's try that again. There we go. So however you want to do it, it all starts with one single curve and one shape, and then you can rotate and create that shape any way that you want. Create all 4 sides with your little innies and outies, and go to town and create. All right, and come up with those puzzle pieces. Now, my part C has, you know, I could have a part C that has, you know, where they can put their last name. But I also may have, you know, another part C option where a picture frame goes in. Okay. Now I had someone ask me the other day, okay, how do they cut the picture frames on those puzzle pieces? And let me do a 4 by 6, and then I'll do a 6 by. Oops. Let's do a 6 by 4, and we'll move this over here, and then they might, you know, there could be some nice cute little saying up here as well, you know, however they want to orientate it. You know, it can be flipped, you know, 180 degrees, and you'll just have a picture on the top and one on the right instead of one on the left and one on the bottom. You know, however if they turn it sideways, you know, whatever the case may be. Now, if they turn this one sideways, it would fit here, and they would have a picture on the top, picture on the bottom, and then you got to figure out how you're going to orientate your text. It'd be up and down versus vertical. It'd be horizontal. All that stuff. Now, for the picture frames, I had someone ask me saying, okay, I know how to cut the squares or the circles and everything out of the picture frame, and I let me do this real quick, because that's going to drive me nuts. Control key, pop that back over there, and let me there we go. I'm going to move all this over to the side. That's why I didn't create a particular size project yet, because I didn't know, because I'm going to be cutting these parts out individually and stuff like that. But let's take this double side here guy real quick, and let's put him on our board. So F9 or center, and see, he doesn't fit. So now I'm going to come in, and now I'm going to create my board size. So for this part, we're going to go with a 14 tall by 26-inch board. We got that nipple sticking out, so 28. Okay. All right, these are based off of basically kind of 12 by 12 parts. So let's click, okay. Now I can take this part and I'm going to center it, and see, 14 is too shallow there. So one more time, go in and create my board height. Let's go 16. Let my Vectric catch up to itself. And this time I'm not going to F9. I'm going to show you the alignment tool. Just open up the alignment tool and align to center of the material. Same thing as F9. See, I'm still a little shallow. So one more time. Lord have mercy. I'll get the size right in a minute. Let's go 18. Don't be stingy. All right. So if you remember in the beginning, I set the job up as a double-sided job, and I will answer your questions as you guys go through. As I go through, guys, I will answer your questions. So don't worry about that. If I haven't answered or replied to you just yet, I'll get to you, Peter. Yep. So yeah, Peter says, in the Vectric V9 clip art, there's a puzzle piece. It's right down here under clip art, 2D vectors. Let me get mine's actually under artwork. 2D vectors. If we scroll down, there's puzzle piece. There's a puzzle piece here. Jigsaw puzzle piece there. That's equidistant on all four corners. Yeah. So you can take that puzzle piece there and build off of it, size it up, maximize it, all that stuff. So absolutely. So it's in there, there's one, the clip art. You can find images online too to trace and all that stuff. It's just we're creating one curve, and that curve is getting rotated, flipped, and mirrored, to create our, our individual piece. You can lay it out however you want. Now, so let's talk about our picture frames. So if we were to just cut a pocket cut here and cut a square, well, that's not going to do us any good. There's no place for the glass. There's no place for a backer board if we're going to have one. There's no place for the picture. So on this, I've got these boxes set for a 4x6 image. And if you're ever curious about common photo sizes, like the 5x7s, 4x6, what size are wallets and everything. One of the things that I did when I was laying out puzzle pieces prior was in the Google search, I just typed in common photo sizes. And you can get some charts and everything. But if I go to all instead of images, right here under the most popular sizes there's a little chart, and then it kind of breaks it down, and then you can really get in further and all 4x6, 4x7, 4x12, all these things. And remember, they got scissors, they can cut their photo down if they need to, type thing. But I want these frames to be for a 4x6, photo. So the outer part, consider this to be the back side. There's going to be a little pocket that holds the glass, holds my photo and all that stuff. So I want to do an offset, and I'm going to do both of these at the same time. Click on both of them, holding down your shift key when you're selecting more than one item. And under the drawing tab, under the offset and layout menu, I'm going to offset inward. Doesn't have to be too much, a 1/4 of an inch, 3/16, whatever you want. I'll go 1/4. I want to create sharp corners when I offset and select new. Okay, so that's going to be my pocket cut. So I'm going to have a profile cut that's cutting all the way through my piece here. And then on the back side of the piece, I'm going to have my pocket cut. So all 4 of these vectors here, I'm going to right select them. I just drew a box from right to left, and as long as that box touches those objects, it will select them if you're drawing from right to left. If I were doing that holding my left mouse button and I did it from left to right, then it would not select because the object is not 100% in the selection window. If it was 100% in the selection window, then it would select them. But if you go from right to left, it just has to touch them. So I'm going to select those, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say copy to other side. Okay. So now when I flip from the front of my board to the back of my board, you can see kind of the outline or the highlight of my project in this light green, but I can't select it. I can't click on it. It's on the other side. But here are my pockets, okay, my picture frames. So when creating the toolpath, the first toolpath for the back side is going to be a pocket. And it's going to be between these 2 pieces. Now, I have a 1/4 inch pocket here. However deep you want it to be. My wood, my piece, is a 1/2 inch thick. And I could go 3/4. I just have it set up for a 1/2 inch. But I want I want to make sure that I have enough depth in the depth of cut, the cut depth, for glass, if I want a little piece of 1/8 inch, picture frame glass, for my picture, and also am I going to put a backer in there, and my backer would just be a piece of 1/4 inch birch or something, or 1/8 inch birch or something small. So I got a 1/2 inch. So meaning that if I was going to do a backer with this, a little cardboard backer, anything, it could really be anything because it's up against the wall, but let's say that backer was a 1/4 inch thick and my glass is an 1/8 inch thick. That's 3/8 right there of my 1/2 inch material. That leaves me with 1/8 of an inch of a lip, and I don't want to go that deep, so I would probably sand down my backer board or something. I'd make it. It doesn't have to be out of plywood. You can make it out of a piece of solid wood, the same wood that you're cutting this project out of, whatever. But I would make it. I'd sand it down to make it a little bit thinner, so I don't have to go so deep. So I'm going to go for my cut depth. I'm going to go 0.2. Go 0.3. 0.3. All right, that'll leave almost about a 1/4 of an inch of material there. Now I've got a 1/4 inch spacing here on this pocket, and I want to select these 2 as well. I got a 1/4 inch spacing, so I could use a 1/4 inch router bit for that, but I'm going to go ahead and do a probably maybe a 3/16 inch end mill or an 1/8 inch end mill, and because of that, my radius, when that router bit cuts, it's going to create a radius here, and I want to just put a square backer, in here, and a square, piece of glass or what have you. So this is a perfect opportunity. I could do a little dog bone fillet because it's not going to be seen from the front. It's going to be from the back. You know, a little place for my bit to escape and somewhere for my corners to go. So on this, I'm going to go ahead and create a fillet. And it's going to be, if I'm going to use an 1/8 inch end mill, my radius is 0.0625. If I'm going to use a, you know, a 3/6 inch end mill, my radius is 0.0937. Whatever the case may be, just half your tool, you know, your tool radius. And so I want to do a T-bone fillet. And let's go here, 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 and here. On this one, those 4 corners. And on my inside piece, this pocket, I don't care where it's going to go because this profile is getting cut out. And because that profile is getting cut out, I don't want to try to get my bit to fit right in here and then leave a little fuzzy thing here when this hole gets cut out. So I'm going to create an offset on these inside vectors inward, just a small 1/16 of an inch. There we go. And now my pocket cut is going to be between these 2 parts right here, the inside vector and outside vector. That way it creates a nice, clean, flat bottom pocket when this center hole gets cut out. So pocket cut, 0 start depth, 0.3. I'm using an 1/8 inch end mill because I set my radius for 3/16. As soon as I find my 1/8 inch end mill, there it is, hiding down there. And this is going to be a frame pocket. Part C, whatever the case may be, and it's going to be a 0.125 EM. Might as well throw that in there just for good measure, and I'm going to calculate that. All right, so let's get to a solid piece of wood here. We're going to go, we'll go maple. Let's see what maple 2 is. I got a maple 2 in there. Let's see what maple 2 is. What's maple 2? Ooh, it's got green in it. All right. All right, so we're going to preview that selected toolpath. Okay, there's my little pocket. All right, my little pocket cut. And on my preview, toolpath simulation, I'm set up high, good. I don't like the grain of that maple. It's too busy, so let's go back to maple 1. There we go. All right, so now let's go ahead and switch back to the front side, toggle back to the top side there. And our picture frame, you can see the outline of that little offset we created, but this is going to be our profile cut, this one and this one right here. It's going to be our profile cut, and we're going to go all the way through our material. We're going to use, you know, if I've got my 1/8 inch end mill, that's fine too. 3/16, 1/4 inch bit, doesn't matter, but I am going to use a 3/16 inch bit. Now, on this one, it's going to just, because it's an inside corner, it's just going to be radiused here. I do not want to create a dog bone fillet or anything here because I don't want that little funky looking thing on the front of my, you know, my picture frame. So I'm just going to let it radius, and those inside corners are just going to be slightly rounded, you know, the diameter of my bit. So we're going to go again and choose the 1/8 inch end mill. And we're going to calculate that. Get rid of those two parts. Okay. And now if we were to go in and let's create our puzzle piece. Might as well. So let's create a profile cut. And if you remember with this cut, I did 1/8 inch radiuses on all of my circles here. So I can use a 1/4 inch end mill to cut it out. Or I could stick with my 1/8 inch bit. Doesn't matter to me whatsoever. If I want to do a bit change or what have you, that's up to you. I will use the 1/4 inch end mill. And I'm going to be on the outside of the cut. I want to do a spiral ramp, and I want them when I choose a ramp, then it's important that I go back and check my tool, edit, not select, because I don't want to change it in the tool database. But I'm going to click edit to edit the tool just for this toolpath, and I'm going to change that plunge rate to match my feed rate, because a spiral toolpath is basically like a funnel going round and down at the same time, around and down at the same time. And I want it to drop at the same speed that it's traveling. I want it to be I don't want it to be jerky. So I want to make sure that my plunge rate and my feed rate are the same. I'm going to go ahead, this is going to be my part C profile cut, 0.25 end mill. Calculate that. And while I'm at it, for good measure, I'm going to delete this one because that was from when I was playing around earlier. But on this profile cut, let me name that as well. This is going to be rename. This one is going to be part C inside or pick frame or inside photo profile, whatever, 0.125 EM for end mill. Just something that I know what it is. And so if we preview that selected toolpath, and they preview the profile cut toolpath, I didn't add tabs or anything. You know, I did that on purpose so I could delete this waste material. And now this is our front. This is our front view. We'd have some text or something up here, somebody's name, whatever. But this is our back view, the back of our board. So you can see the little pockets there where the picture frame is. Okay. And then we can put a square piece of wood in there, a square piece of glass in there, our photo frame, because we've created that little relief on all four corners, that fillet, so our router bit could escape, and that's also where the little corner of our material will go. You know, our glass or our picture frame and all, so we don't have to round off the edges of our glass and all. So now, once you have the parts laid out and everything, what you want, now comes the creative side where you create the toolpaths to cut them out. But now you can decide, does part A have, you know, do they have two choices where they can have the text in one direction or another? You know, since the part can be rotated. Do you have a little oval frame and a name on one part? You know, you can kind of think about that, see what you want to offer, what you want to make, and then create the toolpaths appropriately. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it to another layer. And I'm going to call this layer Part C. And I'm going to make that layer non-visible so it'll go away. Okay. I'm going to flip to the other side. And I'm going to grab these two guys here and I'm going to move them to another layer. Okay, part C. So that way they're not visible either, because I want to take and grab this part here, bring it over on the board, and you guessed it, the same thing would apply if we were doing an oval versus a rectangle. We'd create the offset for our, you know, our lip. So I'm going to go 0.25 and offset that in. These two parts here will be copied to the other side of the board. So that way I can flip over to the other side of the board and create my little 1/16 of an inch offset. And now I can create my pocket toolpath for this oval. So pocket toolpath. And of course, I would create this, I would try to see if I could get 2 pieces on this board, or I'd make this board where I can get 2 pieces, or I'd make this board much smaller. I'm just showing you the toolpaths and everything, because that's a lot of waste out here, just to cut this one part. But we'll create the pocket toolpath. So make sure you lay your boards out to whatever size you want. And I try to lay my board size out to where I can fit at least 2 pieces on there. I can fit my double piece, but I can fit 2 parts on here and cut them out at once. Make sure they fit and all. And they wouldn't fit on this board because I don't want to put them together. They would fit if they were put together, but I want to space them apart so my router bit can cut those parts out. So this board would have to be a little longer. But 0.3, same thing, that hasn't changed. I'm still using the 1/8 inch end mill. This is going to be my part B oval pocket. I can BS for backside if I want to, however you want to name it, so you know what it is. And it's a 0.125 end mill. Calculate that out. Let's reset the preview. So we've got that pocket. Can't see it because it's on the other side. There it is. All right, now we're going to flip back to the top side here, and we're going to create the profile cut. And I can, just because I'm not good, I can create the profile cut with my 1/4 inch bit. I might as well select that part too. Profile cut. This is an oval, so I don't have to worry about radiuses and any of that stuff. So my 1/4 inch bit would be fine. Now, I want to be on the outside of this cut, but on the inside of this cut. Now, I don't have to worry about choosing outside and inside. I'm going to be on the outside of the cut here because the software is smart enough that it knows I have an inside vector here, so it's going to reverse the toolpath for me automatically. So again, I'm going to do a spiral ramp. I want to make sure that my feed rate and plunge rate are the same. And this is going to be my part B. And it's just going to be profile cuts, plural, 0.25 end mill. So calculate that out. Preview at selected toolpath. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Now I got to get my name in there. So that's a V-carve toolpath. And I'll put that, I'll show you how to position that so we cut it first. But no flat depth on this piece. I'm going to use a 60-degree V-bit. This is my part B text. And it's a 60 DEG V-bit. Calculate that. There we go. We'll have our picture frame. We flip this part over. We've got our backside for our pocket. And of course, the parts that you're going to cut to, like if you are going to cut a small little 1/2 inch piece of wood or something to fit in there, or even a piece of plexiglass instead of glass, you can use your vectors. You can use your vector to create the profile cut off of another piece for that plexiglass, for the backer board, that's going to be the backer board material. You can use your vectors, you can use your sizes and stuff, all that stuff. You can create and lay out your parts. All right, so that is a basic explanation of these puzzle pieces. That's as far as we're going to go. And now we're going to start looking at see if you guys have any questions. So nice class, but got to run. Wife has dinner ready. See you later, Dennis. You're already gone, but thank you for joining me. Now would be the time to ask some questions. If you got any questions, type them in the chat. And I'd be happy to answer them. You can, if you're not in the chat window, you can type them in the post on the Facebook group post where I posted the link that said, "Hey everyone, tonight at 7 we'll be presenting how to make picture frame puzzles." You can post your question as a comment in that area as well. Anywhere you want to post this. And let's see if we can get some questions and all. You guys are quiet tonight. All right, thank you for the class, but can we do an email notice so that we know about them further in advance? Yeah, sure can. We can do some type of email notice. Yes. We can do that. I didn't know about the class until 20 minutes before the class started. I didn't even know what I was going to create. All this was created 20 minutes before 7 when I posted the link because I was in advertising meetings all day. Yes, I can send out some type of notification in the future. Absolutely, because we're gonna get our calendar back up to date. So it'll be on the calendar on the Digital Woodcarver Facebook page in the future. I'll start laying out the classes in advance. So all of that stuff. Correct. Yes, Baron. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions? No other questions. Y'all might all be gone. Are y'all still with me? At least raise your hand. Let me know you're with me. Oh, you're with me now. All right. Will the fit be too tight or just do some type of offset when you cut? No. The fit won't be too tight. You can play around with offsets if you want in your profile cuts and everything. I'm not going to get into all that, but you can absolutely, when you're creating your offset, you can create an allowance offset, like a 0.005 or something. But we want to make sure, because that offset scares me a little bit, because of the fact is if I, let me close this. Let me close this and let me go into solid mode here. And let me click on Part C, Profile Cuts. All right. Okay. So right now, I'm cutting that part out for a perfect fit to the other female part, And if I go in there and I create an offset, an allowance, let's say I go 0.005, okay, or even 0.01 or what have you, and I calculate, I'm creating that allowance and everything, and it might, you're going to create it on one part or the other, not both or anything, but, you just got to figure out how well those parts are going to fit together. You're going to have a little bit of clearance, and that's fine. You don't want them to have to beat the parts together when they're hanging them on the wall and stuff. So creating a little offset, you wouldn't want to do it on the male side, because it's making this piece bigger. So that's the thing, on this it's making this part bigger, and then if I go into the female, it's making that part smaller, right? It's making that part smaller. So I'm making one thing bigger, one thing smaller, and how well is that going to do when I cut the other piece and that piece is bigger, that piece is smaller, and now you can't get it to fit together. So offsets kind of worry me a little bit, Debbie. I tend not to do the offsets when it comes to this, because you've got inside cuts and outside cuts all in one. You got two parts that are fitting together. It's not like an inlay where you have the pocket, you can make it bigger so that the inlay can fit into it. In a sense, it kind of, it is on some things, but we normally have a pocket that we're making bigger so the male can fit into it. But in this case, we've got a male and a pocket that we're making the pocket smaller by offsetting outward, so it's kind of gets complicated. Me personally, I would not put an offset allowance in there. But you can also recreate your sizes. You can draw your pieces so they're smaller on, that all the little outies are smaller than the any holes so that they fit, kind of loosely. But then just, be careful. So I would not recommend an offset myself personally. But something you could definitely experiment with. Make two pieces, see how well they fit together with no offset, and then go in and figure out on your design what you need to do before you start going crazy and creating all the other pieces and everything. All right, so what else we got here? Peter's here, Barron's here, Karen Malloy is here, Tyler's here. Hey, welcome guys, welcome. So, think about that, Debbie. It's just, I wouldn't do it, me personally. And they fit together really well. Very light, sanding if you have to or anything. But if you want to, you can actually draw that part to where, the offset's built into it appropriately. Just like I said, do two pieces, test fit them, see what you need to adjust in your drawing, and adjust everything accordingly. So one part fits into the other, not so tight, not so loose that it's sloppy, what have you. Now, if we went over into that, into the those pictures of those picture frames that were hanging up on the wall and stuff, if we looked closely, oops, I don't want to do that. Hold on a second. I don't want to go to Pinterest. Let me go here. If we look closely, is this a big enough photo? If we look closely here, there's a slight little bit of spacing. Not much. Pretty darn close. If it's anything, it's a small amount. But you see how, even if you have your text going sideways, and angled and everything, it doesn't matter. That's pretty cool. Cherish the family on its 90 degree. I love this. This is a nice photo. It's a good looking frame right there. So, love begins at the moment, grows over time, and lasts for eternity. See, that's cheesy that I could have come up with and I didn't in my video. Doggone it. But anyway, but it's cute. It's cute. All right. So, any questions? All right, here we go. Great class. Learned a lot. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Laney, see you in Columbus, Ohio. Time to put the kids to bed. Thank you, James. Have a great day, buddy. Have a great evening. Thank you for joining me. If there's no more questions, I'm going to switch back and forth to the chat one more time. Chat over here. Get them in. We're gonna stay for a few more minutes, and then we're gonna call it a night. Merry Christmas to you all. If I don't talk to you before Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Happy holidays. We at the Shaughnessy household celebrate Christmas, New Year's, and hope you guys have fun-filled laughs and love with your family, friends, and whatever you do. If you drink and responsibly. Don't drink and drive. All those good service announcements. And SpindleTV is brought to you by Digital Wood Carver, our company. For more information, you can visit our website. Our sale lasts till we got a sale going on, lasts until January 1st, www.digitalwoodcarver.com. All right, guys, until next time, I'll see you soon.